Okay, so what I'm going to do then, hello everybody. You can hear us on the microphone, but you can't see us because we haven't turned on the camera yet, have we?
No idea.
No, we haven't. So let's press this button here, and there it is. That's the camera we want. That's the good camera, even though it does, for some reason, include a picture literally covering my head. Go figure. Hello, Amanda, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm super, thank you. So,
Hello, people out there.
hello, people of the internet. So this is Ask a Developer.
It is.
We
Yeah.
did have a theme song tune thing, I remember 5 weeks ago, but I can't remember.
Is it 5 weeks?
It was been, well, about 4 or 5 weeks since our last episode.
Excellent. Well, we're back now.
We are back. Thank goodness for that.
And we've learnt some new things.
We've learned very many new things.
Yeah.
Most of all, we have discovered that you seem to understand how to do clever things involving marketing, which I don't. So that's brilliant.
And I realise one thing that we have been doing is, in terms of the World Wide Web, we've been playing in a puddle.
We have.
When you look at your reach for your social media, Chris is not good with social media, it turns out.
No, I may only. This broadcast might only be going to my mum.
It could be, but in terms of anyone out there who may have received some information about the wiki, we've only just realised that Chris's social media reach has been very limited.
Oh yeah.
And that's basically because his focus is all about this game. And
it is. It's the art.
He doesn't sit on the internet, just playing with social media.
I got into social media 20 years ago when it was IRC.
That's good.
It's not IRC anymore, unfortunately.
No, he has this little IRC.
Look at that! Look at all the buttons and things they get to know now. Crazy.
Well, anyway, we need to talk a little bit about. We have had some questions regarding. Oh, hello, 3D Palace. Are you back? Is TV Palace back? And it's like,
how many years has it been since TV Palace? I mean, come on.
The thing is,
it only ever did 2 episodes, and even I don't have copies.
The thing is, you have, some social media, and that you've attempted to start up when you've sort of decided to change tack with what you're doing. And so obviously you've had, You Can Blue.
Yeah, You Can Blue.
You've had, which is a learning website. It was a learning website when you were.
It got taken in the back garden.
There was You Can Blue. There was also the CG Pirates. Now the thing is with these things, in terms of selling, most people will see this in their information and go, "Oh, CG Pirates, that must be a pirate website."
Yeah, I think that was the problem. I thought I was being clever when I came up with the name CG Pirates, but I'm like, if people pirating or trying to pirate my video tutorials, the idea was CG Pirates would be a video tutorial website, because that's all I knew how to do. Then if they search for a pirate copy of the tutorial name, they'd just come across CG Pirates, and then they'd have to pay for it anyway, and that would baffle the search engine. But
however,
I didn't make a single tutorial.
If you're actually, going to market a game to people around the world, and the first time they ever come across your name comes from a website called
affiliated with piracy.
Pirates,
yes.
They're going to just put it in the spam. They're going to be
I agree.
They're trash. They don't want their stuff clogged up with potential pirates, and if you're going to call yourself a blatant pirate, it's like, whoa. No.
Yeah, you've got to be real careful.
And it hasn't been going long enough. It's not as long as 3D Palace for it to be a known name
for people
and
to know
brand.
what it was. Yeah, that's it. I mean, people constantly ask me, what happened to 3D Palace, and it's just because I can't concentrate on more than one project at a time, really.
And obviously, you had You Can Blue, which is when you were just teaching, and you were between teaching. It was 3ds Max,
that's right.
And you were learning Unreal Engine,
Unreal stuff,
and
I tried to make it more savvy and for the kids, which is a mistake.
You were kind of, as a hard surface modeler, you've done it for a lot of years, and you were making excellent quality robots.
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing is, one thing that, because you've never had a manager as such, or somebody who's like your filing system and things are really archaic, and because your mind's sort of,
all
all
over
over
the
the place.
place.
Nothing's filed. None of the files are kind of marked really well, and
Organise this camera.
when you're putting out those tutorials, it's like, yes, excellent, I've got some content, 60 hours here of Cris, and we're going to build a robot.
Oh my
But
God.
none of it's broken down into like sections or segments about
No, it's
what
just
you're
a
learning.
60-hour robot build.
Yeah, and so when it comes to building things nowadays, you need to file everything and say exactly what your content is. And so obviously you moved on to Unreal Engine when you weren't selling anything anymore.
It's because I didn't want to do anymore. I really had enough of it.
You'd had enough of it.
Yeah.
And 60 hours is a lot of work to
Well,
produce something
the last set was
that won't
100
sell.
hours, really. So,
With the end of your doing 3D Studio Max, you kind of shut down 3D Palace. And so 3D Palace kind of went into, it became a repository for, some excellent tutorials.
Oh, God, yeah.
If you've got the time, and if you.
And if you don't mind the fact that they've not been given particular descriptions.
No.
So as long as you've got 100 hours free.
How do I make that robot's foot? I don't know. I'm going to have to comb through
I'm going to
60
have to watch
hours
the entire set.
and find the foot that Cris made so lovingly.
Well, if it's any help, the foot's normally in the first 25 videos.
I know, but what if they just want to know how to make the eyes? It's like, wow.
Well,
and what if you got confused and you've done the eyes and you've done those like on day 2 and you're like, oh.
To be honest, by the time I used to get to the eyes, I'd had enough. It was like, I could not be bothered with this shit anymore. And so the eyes were almost always just a couple of spheres. Literally, it's like using a ping pong ball after you've done a beautiful sculpture, and then you just shove some ping pong balls in.
Well, the thing is now, anyway.
Now I don't do any of that.
People will realise that when it comes to the wiki itself is now under the website www.thewiki.com.
It is an actual sensible name.
When people come across that, they're like, oh, so which game studio is making it? Like, oh no, hang on, it's an indie developer. Who is this indie developer?
This was the problem.
It's
CG Pirates.
It's CG Pirates. Oh, who is CG Pirates? Is that a piracy website? Who is that? So they look down and go, oh, Cris Robson might recognise the name from somewhere, but wasn't he from 3D Palace? Go to 3D Palace. Oh, 3D Palace is closed and it's not doing anything. So what it does is it leaves doubt in the mind of the person looking initially at the words the wiki, because it's not a games company producing it. It's just an independent person who was affiliated to CG Pirates. So CG Pirates is now closed.
Yeah, thank God. Because frankly, even I was getting tired of CG Pirates. I've got a very short attention span when it comes to websites.
So
I think I've owned about 20.
CG Pirates
It's true, I have.
is closed. However, Cris does still teach Unreal Engine. And, if somebody came along one day and they
costs money.
Pleaded with him.
Wallets.
They pleaded with him, please
you don't
teach
have to
me,
plead, you just have to bring money.
Something to do with 3D Studio Max. He'd be he might be persuaded.
I'm not teaching 3ds Max.
But yeah, he does. He is, an officially registered Unreal
I'm
Engine.
a UE5 person, aren't I?
Trainer now, and so he's been doing this for 7 years, and so the wiki is now going to be traded under 3D Palace.
3D Palace, because
just to give it
3D Palace is like that unemployed drunk uncle that reminisces about the good old days. And now we've given it something to feel important.
I mean, so if anyone sort of thinks, oh, the wiki was by Cris Robson of 3D Palace, they can look back and there is a repository and archive of a huge amount of training material that Cris has put out over the last 20 years.
Yeah, I'll put it back.
I mean, huge amounts. I mean, if you want to make the cutty soft, go ahead, it's there.
How many hours is that? About 50.
That's about 50 hours, but it's anatomically correct.
Well, yeah, as a shift it is.
Because when you decided to make that...
That sounds like it has a penis, no.
When you decided...
It's nautically correct.
When you decided to make that, you had all the boat enthusiasts going, oh, well, you've got to get it just right.
Yeah. I'd made the mistake of asking questions and then more.
I mean, the BBC did request a copy at one point, didn't they?
Metropolitan Police used a copy.
The Metropolitan Police did. Don't ask why.
They used it for recreation of when the ship went down.
Obviously, that's what the police do in this.
Well, if it's faster than making your own, I always say if it's faster to buy it, do that along with quality.
All right, so they were investigating a crime.
Well, yeah, they were just trying to work out who was to blame when the Cutty Core fire.
Right.
Very easy times now.
I thought it was just, they
could be they just wanted to play with the 3D model.
But yeah. So 3D Palace is going to be fully operational. You can talk about anything on there.
That's right. I would give it
hopefully the wiki. But I mean, if you want to talk
maybe
about
5 days before it's fully online,
Unreal Engine 4 and all the upcoming stuff for Unreal Engine 5, this is going to be the new big thing next year.
Yeah. Unreal Engine 5, Christ.
And ray tracing. This is going to be probably is this the first for like indie game? An indie game that's going to be, is it you that's
it's not
ray tracing?
Not pioneering ray tracing.
No, but for using it
as
a single person.
Yeah, for what I'm doing, I'm not pioneering, but I am kind of pushing the envelope a little bit in that single developers don't tend to do what I'm doing at the minute.
I mean, if there is any
if there's anyone else on their own making an open world game in 1936, please do give me a
It doesn't even have to be in 1936. Anyone out there who's making their own open world game and is using Unreal Engine and
is a single person developing.
Yeah, one person, on their own.
I'm curious to see how many people. But it's not that hard. You just need to be really organised.
Have you, are you using ray tracing?
Ray tracing in open world stuff when you've got to do all the optimization yourself is crazy hard.
The optimization obviously is the major point of whether your game's going to have a lot of lag, isn't it?
It's the frames per second.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started, I turned on ray tracing basically for the first time in the wiki while we had the break between the last episode and this one. And when I turned it on, it was like, wow, immediately you could see the difference. And it was beautiful. I'll be playing a little bit of the latest version release of the wiki later on and talking about it. But the lighting's gorgeous. But the thing is, there's a lot of tweaking because making tiny tweaks to it, just makes the most minute of differences. But the amount of processing it needs is colossal.
Yeah.
So I have to be very selective on which parts are being kind of, given detail for the ray tracing, which parts have got something called global illumination, and exactly how ray trace reflections are being applied.
But ray tracing, obviously, when it comes to water and light, it makes 1,000% difference.
Oh my God, doesn't it just?
And I think one of the things that gives your island its uniqueness is obviously with you being colourblind, your your visualization of colour is completely different to how we see it. Us non-colourblind people, and the refraction of light on water through the rain and through the different cycles of weather, the light and the way the water interacts with everything, and that gives it a kind of edge. That's what makes it very beautiful to look at.
I suppose. I mean,
as the lights change, from day to
I think
night.
it's like you say, because I can't see the colour, I'm very, very invested in the play of the light and the reflection of the light on the water.
But the patterns of...
I've always been very, very interested in that sort of thing.
The patterns of nature and everything on this island are particularly stunning.
Well, I certainly like it.
Very good.
The whole point of this has always been, though, that, I want something I like.
Yeah.
I think that's how we all kind of achieve our art, is by doing something we like.
Yeah, and so this week you've put together a what is the wiki, because
a
lot of people come across it and go, right, okay, this is
what is
an indie game. A lot of people said, what kind of game is it? What is it?
Well, I mean, I can play the video if you want.
Yeah, I think you should.
1 minute, let me just. And now I've got to remember which button is which, because different buttons on my computer do all sorts of different crazy
There is
things.
a lot of buttons now.
It certainly is. Right, so I'm not going to do this in a fancy way. I'm just going to go and open the file, because I think this will be easier. And I think it's in Documents. Here we go. What is the wiki?
So why don't we watch this? What is the wiki? Because this is your new kind of short that explain.
The funny thing is, when I watch this now, okay, and I'm watching this obviously with the fine people of the interweb.
Because I was like, imagine if I had gone on the internet and I'm like, oh, there's a video game coming out called The Wiki. I would just gloss over that, because I knew what a wiki was, but I'd be like, oh, the way you described it, because I asked Chris to write a little article, and you made it sound like a historical documentary. And I was like, no, Chris, no, this is why you're not doing your own marketing anymore.
I make for a boring pitch.
It was like, it sounded like you're doing an exciting, from an I love Inspector Morse mindset, but then as if it was a historical documentary about a fictional island. I was like, no, you're going to need to explain to someone that might come across.
Well, you're right as well, because it never occurred to me until this. I'll just play it now, okay? And you can talk over the top of it, because the guy with the beard in it looks a bit shifty.
What is
the Wickie? The Wickie is a new thriller and adventure video game in realistic 3D, where you're playing the lighthouse keeper's assistant. What do you do in the Wickie? In the Wickie, you have 14 days on the island of Pandora's Rock, where you'll be working under the senior lighthouse keeper, keeping things running smoothly to keep ships safe. During those 14 days, you may become aware of a terrifying mystery, or indeed mysteries on the island, which you can choose to set out and solve. Where is the Wickie set? On the fictional Hebridean island of the Rock, 150 miles west of Scotland. When is the Wickie set? It is set in 1936, before the onset of the Second World War. Does the Wickie have multiple storylines and endings? Yeah, it has quite a few actually, with a lot more coming after the game releases. Every 2 weeks, additional plot and story branches will be added to the game for a year after release, so there's always going to be something new waiting for you. Is the game a horror? Well, that depends on how you play. If you play the game in a completely linear way, without exploring or doing anything you're not told to, then it's a very different game. Does the game encourage exploration? This is an open world game, and from the very outset you're presented with as many exploration choices as possible, with new options being added constantly. Why have one route when you can have 3? Can you die in the Wickie? Yeah. Not permanently though. Yet. Is this game Lovecraftian? Yes, but I'd also say it's more similar perhaps to Hodgson's work, with inspiration definitely taken from, amongst other places, The House on the Borderland. How far into development is this game? As of today, November the 1st, 2021, this game is in a playable state and well into its early beta testing. When does the game release? Summer 2022 on Steam for the PC, with console versions to be announced. Where can I find out a little bit more? Come to www.thewickie.com. See you there. Oh, there we go. Wasn't he charming? What a lovely man. I'd trust him with £20 for a high quality, independently produced video game. I don't know about you.
So is that the price you're going to set?
I believe that's the price for it, yeah. Although you've got to remember, for the money that the game is going to cost, which is about I think that's kind of high mid tier for an indie game. That's going to include like minimum year of updates to the game, because the whole plan is just that every 2 weeks there'll be another update coming out for the game, so we can stick more plot and more extra things in.
Are you actually going to potentially make it into kind of like a getaway? Rather than a plot-driven game where you can
Yeah, but it is pure escapism. I mean, if you want to play the game nicey times, I'm sure that I can put in a pathway and set of stories that just lead to,
can you not have
settling down on the island.
Can you not have like someone coming off the boat and just bringing you the things you want, so you kind of write a little list? Well, and they bring you like kind of a treasure chest full of like outfits or
well, that's the thing. There's a whole lot of talk nowadays about this whole kind of metaverse concept and things like that.
It's happening all.
And the thing is, what gets me is that with the way that the whole game, the Wickie, is built and the island is built and everything is built there, it's very, very easy to reuse it for all sorts of different purposes. I mean, with the addition of some slightly modern buildings, suddenly I'd have a very modern island, or I could make the island look warmer, move it like, a little bit further south, and like have tropical birds on it or anything really.
You could like,
It's incredibly easy. Just
you
to
could turn it into Kitty Loveland.
Well, yeah, I could cover it in cats, which
Or
would technically, in a
dogs.
Lovecraftian way, make it ultra.
You could, dogs or horses, or you can make it into a pet,
That would-
pet land.
I don't think that'd be as much fun as we think, having just like thousands of feral cats trying to eat everybody.
They're not to be feral.
They would be after a little while on the island.
You could build a little creche, and
Maybe. Maybe. Oh, well, anyway, where are we up to?
So, all right. Can you tell us about DLSS?
Cool, isn't it? Well, DLSS is...
That's what your game uses.
Well, yeah, it does. I found the option a couple of months ago and turned it on. And DLSS is basically a kind of very clever AI-based upscaling system that NVIDIA has introduced. And
is this what they're using on the AI pets that they seem to be building all over Japan?
No, but I know you do love AI pets, so well done for sneaking into the conversation there. No, DLSS is basically, imagine that you've got a much lower quality and lower resolution image of your game. So obviously it takes less processing time for the computer to make that. And then what DLSS does is it runs its clever little black magic and turns it into a high quality upscaled image. And as such, it saves an enormous amount of computer processing time and increases the frame rate tremendously. It's clever stuff. Now, ask me how it works.
How does it work? Witchcraft?
Witchcraft is exactly what I will be saying round about now.
Okay.
That's true. Black magic. I think, to be honest, there's an awful lot of orphans sacrificed.
So, have you heard anything about, it's going to be released on Steam?
Yeah. And I'd imagine I'll probably get it onto the Epic Store as well.
You want it in the Epic Store. I mean, currently we've been making, we are doing some promotional material.
We're very much a cottage industry, I think, in this respect.
And the promotional, most people would have like flyers or whatever. We produce postcards.
Knitted handkerchiefs.
Portrait and landscape postcards of the island with obviously the basic details on of when it's going to be released and the website where you can find your information. And they're kind of beauty shots of the island, and we're putting them out and about in places, game stores.
If someone asks nicely, we'll even post them on, I suppose.
If you want one, just ask.
Yeah,
We'll send you a postcard.
Yeah.
You never know. We'll get Cris to sign some of them. Be nice.
Have you seen my signature? It's a line.
You never know. You scroll.
Then it'll be a very, very easy to forward.
Remember, they said your colour blindness wouldn't really benefit you in any way.
Yeah, this is true.
It has.
That's because I think every adult in the 70s and 80s hated every child in the 70s and 80s. Are you a child with hopes and dreams? Hopes and dreams? Just put that out here. Oh.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, so we're going to blow up the portrait postcards into posters A4.
I can get an image of that up, actually.
A3. And make some stickers and stuff.
Oh, let me just
find
that.
You never know when COVID, if that ever ends, we might get to some conventions and.
I really hope so. It'd be nice. I think the convention scene is definitely ready for the colour you will bring to it.
Okay, so
here we go.
There we go. That's the new one.
Yeah, that's the new Wickie postcard. So if anyone wants a Wickie postcard, you need to get in touch. Answer this simple question: would you like a Wickie postcard? If you get the answer right, you could possibly get a Wickie postcard.
It's just a postcard, but
yeah,
obviously everything it says on the front, it tells you that it's going to be available.
And here you can see that's our
2020.
That's our classic postcard. You see,
and it's definitely going to be available on Steam for £20.
Yeah, there we go. And there's our beautiful, well, my desktop wallpaper.
That's the new wallpaper. However, the last few weeks on Pandora's Rock, it has been raining really heavily.
So I've been doing a lot of rain tests.
Cris turn on the rain.
Yeah.
And the rain makes everything look really beautiful in the sunrise.
It does, but it absolutely thrashes the processor.
Yeah.
Oh my
However,
god! Because it's all race-based water.
my brilliant idea was like, okay, should we have some Christmas cards from Pandora's Rock?
Oh god!
Definitely, Chris is like, okay, we're going to turn on the snow. So I can't wait for snow time.
Yeah. Okay. I can
You know.
definitely. I can definitely turn the snow.
And I'm going to be like, okay, can we build snowmen on the island?
Dear me.
Build some snowmen.
Well, I mean, anything's possible, I suppose. Anything's possible. You know, the sheer. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head now.
And
The amount of
honestly,
stuff needed to make it.
we still don't have.
I suppose a
We
snowman.
still don't have a resident cat, and I would also like.
The resident
I would
cat will
also
be
like,
happening, but I've got game to
I
build.
also want some topiary, so that we can have topiary that gets covered in snow. A little bit of a nod.
Why
to the
would there be
Shining.
topiary?
A nod
there?
to The Shining.
It's the Hebrides.
I know, but
You want a maze, don't you?
no. Oh, now you've said it.
Oh,
Yeah. Now you've said it. But we are going to have.
See, this is how professional games get made. I think you should make a maze. Woo!
Well, actually, how did eBay get started? Think about it. One woman said to her husband, "Oh, I want somewhere to sell my
Beanie Babies.
those Beanie Babies," and so he fulfilled the purpose.
I suppose so.
And you know, some people build castles in the sky, and other people live in them. So,
It'd be a little bit unsafe living in castles.
well, this is our castle in the sky, isn't it?
And thankfully, our one's currently at a height of 0.
And we need a folly.
Oh yeah,
A folly is part of the plot.
yeah. A folly is coming into the island.
And we're going to take one that is historically correct from somewhere in the world.
To be fair, with follies though, there's such a lovely range of like
Once I've
stupidity and bad design. It's going to be fantastic.
once I've found a good one, though, it'll be a surprise. Chris is going to build it.
Yeah, I'm going to probably put the folly in the next month. I mean, at the minute we have it's nice actually. We've got 9 months until the version 1 released, which will contain the first 7 days of the wiki. Now, I mean, in that time, that means that I've got enough time to stabilize the story, which sounds weird, but the story really does need to be stabilized because it's kind of hard to explain, but basically tightening up the game so it feels like a game rather than feels like a series of events. And this is an important aspect of it.
One thing we did look at, and it's an excellent, very, very beautiful game, way ahead of its time. When it was released,
My god! Yes,
is Dear Esther.
Dear Esther. That was so weird because I've never played Dear Esther.
Chris knew of its existence, but he
I've
hadn't
heard people say about it, but I never had a computer powerful enough.
He'd
really to get
never
around to playing it either.
He'd never played it or looked at it all the way through. So we watched it all the way through, and it is quite astonishing. I was like,
it's technical skill.
Like, how was that made?
Mind blowing.
Before Unreal Engine came about, basically.
They're kind of open world. I mean, obviously, if you look at it, it is, it's basically a driven linear, one section loads, then another section loads kind of bit. It's not true open world. It's kind of pretending to be.
But
they did such a good job.
It kind of looks it. And
beautiful. And even their water, which is 19 years old now, I think that water
The water is really
very, very nice. I mean, sure, it's a little bit basic, but what do you expect? The fact that it's even transparent.
But at the time, though, you wouldn't have said that. If you'd first played that when it came out and you'd never seen what you can do with Unreal Engine, you would be astonished.
Well, yeah.
And I'm surprised I've never seen it before. It really is really excellent.
There we go.
Oh, dear me, is that some snow?
So I'm going to switch this over to the Unreal Engine 4 camera. And
look at that, snow for the first time, everyone.
There we go, you see. So we can have snow in in the game.
However, we have pink snow here. It is pink.
Well, it's probably tinted by a lot of the things.
It's tinted by the sunset.
I mean, if I just click play, here's some of our soundtrack now. And over there, you can see one of the people one of the creatures that kind of patrols the gates of the dreamland down here. Because this is just a small part of the dreamland. I do like this cello soundtrack, very, very nice. But a good thing about this is, you see, that this is the weather system that I'm using for the whole of the game. And it's very, very easy for me to go, well, let's make it a little bit warmer. And I can move to a slight thaw, or I can move to a full thaw with rain, or, I can even just turn the rain off and go back to a nice dry normal day.
Do you have thunder and lightning?
I do, and it's very, very frightening.
Excellent.
And in fact, let me just turn it on. There we go. So if I don't think I've got the sound turned on for it. There you go.
Can you control the really rough or really hard?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can do all these things more to make our water work the way it should. There you go. You can see bolts of light. Lovely, isn't it? Because it could all be about the tableau, and there you can reflect these giant things here. Slowly going over there. Now, somewhere over there you can see that this is probably a post. Reason being that it doesn't want me to spend too long here, or it's going to throw me out, and I'll end up in a kind of a limbo for a while that I'll have to escape from. General rule of thumb being, don't take it up to the mode. That's a nice cello there. I do like that.
Yeah. So.
And yes, that is fully licensed to the game. That is some of the music from the game. When it comes to the soundtrack of this game, I may have gone overboard.
Might have done.
I think there's something like 2.5 or 3 hours of soundtrack for this game.
That's something that's really important, though. Because
oh God, yeah. There's so much music.
Your game through, its soundtrack and later, like in the future. Once it's synonymous with what they see, and it kind of embeds into you.
Well, there's 3 different composers' music in the game, and the 3 different composers all have very different feels.
Yeah,
I mean, the cello and the piano, which is being used predominantly at the moment in the game, is very much to kind of set the tone of it being a folk place and kind of a folk horror kind of feel. Whereas if I was using kind of electronic music, it would kind of pull away from that and make it more the kind of a modern folk, much less, And I mean, I know you like folk horror as much as I do.
Yeah, I think people have asked, is it Lovecraftian? Yes, it's definitely got Lovecraftian overtones.
I suppose any horror, really, any modern horror that's a bit weird, like weird fiction, is going to have Lovecraftian overtones. Because he, the thing is, people think he introduced the idea of this kind of lurking horror beyond the threshold, these huge creatures that are coming to take us kind of thing. And he didn't. And he never said that he was the person who originated these things. He was very much, a person who was into Aftermatch and he was into William Hope Hodgson stuff and things like that. And, of course, Edgar Allan Poe. And, I mean, I like Lovecraft stuff.
You've been influenced by it. We all
certainly.
have.
He's very good at painting a mental picture, and he's very correct in what he says.
He plays on the human psyche, the fear of the unknown.
The fear of the unknown is because he was scared of so many things.
He was scared of a lot of things.
But Hope Hodgson, by contrast, didn't have that fear. He was a very gregarious, outgoing person. But at the same time, his books paint portraits of these kind of desolate places, with like massive creatures kind of looking in from the boundaries and your whole hopeless kind of state in the universe. And you'll see the whole sense of being helpless and hopeless and lost as a kind of recurring theme.
Yeah.
Bizarre, really.
Well, there's also, folk horror, when you think of that, you think automatically of like The Wicker Man.
Well, yeah, of course, The Wicker Man was a fantastic book.
You've
read the book, actually, haven't you? What was the book called?
The Cornwall Murders.
That's right, yeah.
And there's a follow-up, The Wicker Woman, and the style I've written is very, very flowery.
Oh yeah, I can believe it.
Very, very.
I read a little bit of it.
Lyrical, and it's very unusual. It's worth reading, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Both books are. The author, there's some very strange idiosyncrasies that came through in the work, and it was translated to film in a slightly different way than it was originally intended. But the film, I think, is
1974, Christopher Lee. Fantastic film. And is it Edward Woodward?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a classic.
It is.
And we won't talk about the remake, but really didn't.
The remake was not good, unfortunately.
Even with that wonderful actor.
Yeah, well, you know.
Let's not talk about
Bees!
it. Just,
Not the bees! Yeah.
and
Such a
you
bad
know,
film.
it reminds me of Midsummer as well.
Midsummer was out of left field. That film was so
Folk
good.
horror, that's very good.
That is an exceptional folk horror, and it has the proper themes in it. You know, it has the proper folk horror themes to it.
But I mean, this place in and of itself, you know, it has Innsmouth overtones.
Oh yeah,
from H.P.
definitely.
Lovecraft.
The
And
Innsmouth overtones come from like the industrial
and the Black
1920s
Rock,
buildings.
and obviously Hanging Rock as well.
Hanging Rock
Mm.
and Picnic at Hanging Rock
Yeah,
is very much, I would say, an influence.
But-
That's an Australian film as
yeah.
well.
But
Yes.
the Black Rock that's in the Lovecraftian universe, that's, you know, that is influential because it's based on a rock.
Of course.
The book, The Lighthouse, about the lighthouse keepers, about the 3 lighthouse keepers that went missing. All of these sorts of things about, you know, remote places. The film The Lighthouse as well. They've
Yes,
all-
of course.
they've all been,
I mean, I'd say the film The
influential.
Lighthouse is kind of a pre-folk horror to a degree in the way that it's presented. It doesn't quite fit in with folk horror, but
in a way, though,
maybe it does. I
the
don't know.
whole thing is to do with isolation and your own descent into your own dark psyche.
Yeah,
Through being isolated for a long period of time, and with it being so remote. So it's very much about a battle with your own
yeah.
perspective on how you see things. You know, so if you're a super jolly person, you might have a super jolly time.
I suppose so. I mean, you know, if you're into being 3 lads all together on a big wet rock in the middle of nowhere, then
But I mean, essentially, that place, you know, Pandora's Rock, going there. If you were just an artist or a, you know, a poet on a retreat, you'd have a fabulous time.
oh,
As long as you just stayed there and, you know.
speaking of lighthouse keepers, we actually have the artwork coming in for the 3rd member of the lighthouse keeping team.
Oh, yes.
Which is good because he will feature in day 1 and day 2. It's just he doesn't feature heavily. He's very much a side character until day 3 and day 4. I'm not sure if I can grab the art or not, but I will have a wee look. So there could be a sneaky little preview.
Also, the sailors, which we have now named the Weatherbottoms.
The Weatherbottoms, yes.
Who were designed by our daughter,
By Tabitha or Lady
Tabitha.
Cake Pops.
the Robson. Excellent job. They are gonna be changed a little bit. They're gonna have different features, but they are supposed to kind of be the same. They're all, you know, related.
Yeah, yeah, but you can tell. There is actually a prop pack coming out to give them some
So,
slight
yeah,
differences.
You know, structures, little beards, and maybe pipes and glasses.
There we go. Look, I'll just stick
There
that on the bigger camera. This is actually what he looks like. So this is Jack Fisher. Hang on a second. There we go.
Would you trust him?
Oh, Jack. Oh, look at that moustache. Look at that wrist pocket watch.
Yeah.
Look at those hands.
Would you
Look
trust
at them
him?
knees. Look at those leather boots.
He's excellent.
He is. I do actually really like this one. There's one more image that isn't on here of his. He has his back to you, but
He's got some nice clothes.
he has. He's exactly how I want him to come out. So I'm very, very pleased with this character. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to switch back to the us camera now, rather than the that camera. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's really good. So we've got, you know, there's so much actually happening in development.
Oh goodness, yeah. It's certainly a very busy time with the development, I would say.
And you have had a few, you know, Chris has had a few days, you know, where he's been like, oh, it just is so long and such a hard
Well,
slog.
it's a very, very, very long job.
So, you know, when you're developing by yourself, that can be a thing. You don't have a manager that's kind of saying, ooh, this has to be done by then, and
There we go. I'm sending myself some hearts in the video.
very good.
Thank you. It's true, because you don't have someone basically whipping you, you don't necessarily have to do the work. But I'm kind of stuck in the other direction in that I'll be kind of lying in bed trying to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be like, I know what the interface system really needs right now. And I'll have to stay there because, I don't want to get up and like annoy Amanda and like, wake everybody up by tromping downstairs and smashing away at the keyboard. Yeah, well.
It's all good though. I mean, like the content so far it's immense. It is huge.
Well, I mean, we can have a wee look. I'll show you some of the stuff that's been going in recently. So if I think it's this button. So what we have here is the wiki. Now, this menu screen here is very much a temporary thing. Okay, that's why it looks like Doom, but this is a temporary thing. But anyway, the development hub is something you'll never see unless you're literally a beta tester, early beta tester. So if I go here, though, it allows me to select various days without having to actually play the game. So you saw this earlier. This is like the dreamland. Now, once all the textures have loaded in, which takes a second or two, because there's an awful lot going on here, plus I have 8 monitors, because each one of these is 4. There's quite a lot of processing going on. I'll just grab my torch and my battery, and you may notice now that when I pause, it doesn't pause. Okay, it's still coming. I hit my bob. So yeah, just to let you know that
Run away.
It's probably time to run away from whatever that is. I do like that thing. Right, so let's go and vanish. Now, hopefully, I've got this nagging suspicion I may have left the rain on. Right?
It's gone for now.
Yeah, well, on day 2, the whole idea is it's a rainy day. Visibility is fairly low. There's lots of puddles around. But I have to take into account people that have lower specification computers than the ones I'm using. So, let's have a look. Yeah, it looks like the rain's turned off. You can tell if the rain's turned off because when you look out of the window, there is no rain. Now, this is going to be a sad frame rate, and this is for a number of reasons. I am streaming. I have 3 active cameras on at the moment. I have a full window open for Discord, and I have several other pieces of software running, plus I'm streaming to 4 places at once.
Smart on the walls. Though.
Yeah, well, the art for these is coming, but what's happening is basically... Yes, I did, but rooms are being done on a need basis. Yeah. So if we go in here, for example, the paintings in here are all set up and, that rather fancy little solo chair on the floor there, making us all feel happy. I'm not sure where my torch... Oh, I've lost my torch when I jumped worlds. Well, of course I did. Okay, so... Oh, God. Anyway, just to kind of show you some of the things I've been doing. So... I'm going to need a battery. A battery, my kingdom for a battery. Get out of here. And this is going to be juddery, I'm afraid, simply because that's the way it's going to be. Right. So, the main thing that's been worked on in the past week is bringing some more life to the island. I've made a few posts on Facebook about that to my 6 people that look at those. Yeah.
Yeah, when I did that for like social media reach, it turns out, Facebook's
what
not the
social
best.
media reach? Don't use Facebook, you idiot. That's me I'm talking about there. But as you can see, I mean, I've done some more work down here on the Keeper's Gardens as well. And if we go over here, you can see that we have our 2 deer there, which I've named after my old school friend Toby and his wife Ingeborg, bouncing around the place. And Toby has boundary issues and keeps going on the wrong side of the wall. Honestly, Toby. I am wondering, Toby. He always assured me that he never went over that wall, but we'll see. Anyway, if we go back here, and obviously foliage, with the rain turned off. If I had snow turned on right now, there'd be snow everywhere, obviously. So you can see that we've got all these flowers growing down here. Now, I've been careful again to select appropriate flowered plants and so on.
Yeah, they're conducive to the weather conditions in
They
that place.
are, and there is only 2 mammal species
so
native.
You don't get any orchids there.
No, you're not. Not for very long, anyway. Now, I don't think this version has wind built in, but I now have this new feature where gusts of wind will start to build up, and you'll hear and see the gusts of wind before they then shoot you off the edge of the cliff because you weren't paying attention. So that's just something for you to, oh, no, there's one there, look. Oh, bugger. And I've got the sound turned off. That's going to make this very difficult. Because the wind gets cumulative and it can blow you from one wind to another wind really, really easily.
You don't just fall or you go flat.
Yeah, it depends. If you get hit by a big gust, you're off to heaven. So that's the way it goes.
Some issues with your boats, and the boat would either sink or it would fly off into outer space.
Or it tip over and then fly into outer space, or tip over and sink. And yeah, did not have much luck with my boats, to be honest.
I thought that was an actual feature. I was like, wow.
I know, you were really impressed with it, and I was really sad because I had to tell you that it wasn't supposed to be doing that at all, like ever.
Really good though.
Anyway, the culling system on this, which is what's basically allowing me to have, oh Jesus, what? Oh, will you make it?
No.
Oh dear. Oh Jesus, that was great. Oh, that's made my day. I really have.
You see, if you had a wingsuit, you would have gone across. Maybe it should be optional wingsuit.
That's a hell of a bug. I don't know whether to leave that one in.
Optional wingsuit.
I hope someday someone makes it across that gap.
On your little backpack.
That was so funny. I'm very impressed.
That's another wasn't meant to do that.
No, definitely not. Okay, let me just have a quick check of the stats. I've got a feeling this has got like an FPS of 5. Just to show you how much stuff I'm using on my machine at the minute. Like, oh no, it's got an FPS rate of 10 nearly. Crikey, that's double what I expected. There we go. Although, to be fair, I remember a game coming out years and years ago that I really liked for the 3D on, I think it was the Amiga. And it had a frame rate of something like 1 FPS, and I still thought it was really good. So, near. There you go.
So, what are you going to be? Obviously, we've unified. We've unified the product now across all your websites.
Yes.
And 3D Palace is, basically
starting to move.
It's back.
It's coming back slowly.
It is going to be the Wickie.
Like the old drunk relative slowly sobering up in the chair. He knows he smells of weed.
So 3D Palace is presenting the Wickie.
Yeah.
And realistically, that is still a massive repository of information, all to do with 3D. And Cris documents a lot of the time what he's actually, making, and he's going to use this and he's going to file it now.
Yes, I promise I will label what
he's going to label what he's working on, and then it goes onto YouTube. And if you're looking for, something in your own game that you might be developing, and you're stuck.
_video _
yeah.
Wednesday _ can't remember _
Yeah, but yeah, so he has got a lot of videos up currently that you can look at. That will journey.
If you just want to sit for a couple of hundred hours,
they will journey this game from its inception.
It's like 2 years of time lapse, almost. Watching things happening as the game slowly.
From when it's been born all the way to when it's going to be birthed, and from now on, though, it's going to be well labelled so that if you want to find any resources on how to make your own video game from scratch,
you'll certainly see. I think, to be honest, if you watch through, if you're patient enough and watch through them, you'll certainly see some of the pitfalls and the absolute kind of dead ends I put myself into that I had to pull myself out. But at the same time, one of the things from my journey so far that I've enjoyed so much, I think, is you kind of realise that your personal boundaries for what you can do are just your personal boundaries, and you can push through that and try and achieve things beyond that and do fun things.
If you get stuck, you see it as a challenge now, not a problem, and you go out there into the big wide web and you search for how to learn how to do this.
Oh goodness!
And there's a lot of
there's so much help out there.
So many helpful people. If you are stuck, you can ask a question. If you get to the right, look for the right resource, the right person.
Definitely.
And most people who are sitting, slogging away on their own, have got 5 minutes to go, oh yeah, I'll explain this.
I mean, I've got so many people. I mean, obviously, from my point of view,
Everyone's always learning.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm nearly 50, and I know a lot of people in the industry simply because of my age and the fact that
you had given up.
Most people in the industry are happy to talk to you if you talk to them.
But it's like a lot of people now who've lost their jobs, for example, and they're going to have to retrain and do something else. Even though, like, not because of COVID, but, in the last 10 years, you got sick to death of going nowhere with 3D Studio Max. Definitely. And you had to retrain. So you taught yourself over 7 years Unreal Engine only because you had an interest in it.
Well, it wasn't really.
You didn't have to go to university. You didn't have to do a course. You just went and learnt it, and then
university isn't for everyone. The good thing, university is fantastic if you feel that you need that kind of structure and organisation. And I have nothing but respect for people like my good friend Greg, who's a senior lecturer over in Stafford, or the people who work so hard at Portsmouth or Middlesbrough. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do the university thing. I can't take that kind of rigid structure. With me, I'm very much like the old-fashioned kind of 3D person. It's like, let's do this and then see what happens when I do this.
But you have still managed to, you thought that was the end of
what you were
doing.
Yeah.
You've given up.
Oh, yeah. 7, 8 years ago, I was like, well, that's the end of the industry. I'm done.
Yeah, you were just like, I'm done. I'm never going to do anything like this again. And then you were like, oh, I'll maybe open the Learning Network, which was you can believe
to throw the old cheek.
Yeah, and you still had an interest in it, but you just thought, I'll never make anything that's going to be
it's not just that.
Income,
this new social media gubbins, is pretty scary if you're not used to it.
Yeah, but if you can retrain yourself completely, you've given up.
This is true. I think.
Anyone can if they've got enough interest.
I suppose as long as maybe it helps. Obviously, I have support from my family. I have support from you and the children. But also on top of that, I think
you have to go with what your interests are.
Yeah, you do.
You've got to be interested, otherwise you wouldn't push yourself.
If it's not something you're interested in, you're not going to do it.
No.
Not at all. Not at all.
Unreal Engine for you learnt that super quick, really, compared to when you tried to learn C++ and it wouldn't go in.
Well, I think I was lucky because Unreal Engine in many ways reminded me of, working in 3D. And a lot of the time I will still build 3D objects, but I'll build them directly inside of Unreal Engine. I'll basically kit bash them together. And then, the blueprint thing looked kind of scary, but then I realised all it was really was a set of building blocks that you could use to do the same sort of thing.
The thing is, you also had a love of like Lego and putting together.
Oh yeah, that helps. I think most
and you still like using those the U-Gears kit.
Oh, U-Gears.
So assembling things from parts in a structure in a certain way is a very visual thing for you, and Unreal Engine is very, very.
And I suppose it's very calming.
Very
self-soothing, like you were saying about the other day.
It's like arts and crafts for somebody with a technical mind.
Well, I find traditional art and craft very difficult. So for me, definitely, I find it a lot easier.
But it's ultimately it's like doing arts and craft. It's like doing a physical thing in a 3D visual way.
Oh yeah.
Whereas C++ and stuff, some of the other things you went to college and university and things, and you just couldn't get it.
No, I couldn't take that kind of structured learning.
And yet you still taught yourself over years to build websites, and you picked up, Photoshop and all these other things by yourself, just through sheer curiosity.
It wasn't just curiosity, though. I think it was necessity. And I think necessity is, it's the mother of invention. If
it was curiosity that drove you as well. And I was like, if I learn to do this, then I can do this more easily than having to go out and resource these things in the world. You're like, I'll do it myself that way. But yeah, if you think about it, from the age of 40 to, yes, Chris is 50 soon, very soon. Yeah, in the last,
8 days. Jesus.
Yeah, you'll be 50.
Christ.
And you are now, doing something that really is so far out of your own comfort zone. 10 years ago, you'd be like,
10 years ago, I'd have thought this is impossible. I mean,
you'd have been like, no, I'm going to get stuck. And I mean, you did make, that's
another. The Outsider.
We came across the Outsider website, and that is still
going.
It was still going.
You can actually still buy it for £50 on itch.io.
That game is still there, and
I occasionally sell copies.
It's
so weird.
It had a lot of potential, but Chris just didn't have that extra oomph with a plot.
I didn't
the
know how
story.
to make it work. I didn't know how to continue the story.
But you made the visualization of it
It was
through
very
Unreal Engine.
linear.
It was still pretty to look at.
It was, yeah. I think if you were to look at that, I might actually have to buy a copy just so I can look at it again.
You've got to buy a copy of
Yeah,
your own
my own
game.
fucking game. I think if you were to look at a copy of that, you would find that probably, visual wise, there are a lot of similarities to my current game.
Yeah, there are.
Because I was absolutely obsessed even back then with like the foliage system, the lighting system, and so on.
I bet you weren't as obsessed with the water system as you are now.
Oh my God, no. No, the water system now is my bugbear, but I love the water system. In fact, funnily enough, inside of the game, I'm actually using 3 different water systems that are interacting with each other in all sorts of bizarre ways. I've got the Unreal Engine water system, which is really, really good. But for the first level of the game, or the first day rather of the game, I'm using a different proprietary blueprint-based system, which is controlling Gersner waves. Amanda's glazing a bit. It's controlling the Gersner waves and basically creating this kind of buoyant ocean. The idea was that I was going to use that to what's the word again? Basically allow boats to float on it in a real physics manner. The problem with that is that it led to kind of upside down boats.
We did watch a film, didn't we, where there was a boat on the ocean and the boat was literally sitting slightly on top of the waves and there was no impact with the wave onto the side of the boat.
This drives me crazy. I mean,
this was in a film, and
this was driving me crazy. I mean, to be fair though, if I look at my game at the moment, the ships are very much bound to the water, but they're not bobbing as much as they should. They're doing a very slight bob, and they're not doing a full one for the reason that as a first-person game, if I do full-on kind of, deadliest catch move, it's not going to be nice. And the thing is, I know that some people are stupid enough to want to play my game in VR, and fair play to them. I'll do everything I can to make it work in VR.
I think that would be great, actually, especially if it was like deadliest catches.
It needs so. I'll have to turn the ray tracing off for sure to get VR working. But yeah, I could do that because I think it's.
I think it would be really interesting.
Well, without ray tracing at the minute, it could manage VR. But
the game will have the option on it. You can do.
I'm not going to directly put the option in because I can't support it. But what I'll do is I'm not going to stop anyone who wants to accidentally turn it on themselves.
Yeah.
In a developer menu that maybe doesn't get fully locked.
Yeah.
Because I think people should. I think if the game is there and it can work more or less in that way, then sure, why not use it that way? And I'm not going to charge people extra for a version that's just bloody VR. That's silly.
Okay, so that's it for this week. We'll be back again next week.
We will be at 9 o'clock on Tuesday. BST.
It's going to be 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, and this is just basically,
Can we see if I can eat a whole one of those kebab wraps live during the entire show?
You wouldn't manage even a quarter of it, Chris. You'd be sick.
So big.
You've.
Yeah, I can't manage that kind of food anymore. Actually, can I?
Not anymore.
I would be so unwell. Jesus.
But it's, it's going to be your birthday week and everything. So, but anyway, it's
so big.
Okay, so we'll be back next week. And if anyone has any questions, hopefully Chris will have his chat and things switched on.
I will. You can obviously still contact us through Discord. You can contact us through thewickie.com. If you go on there, there's a contact form. You can contact me on chris@3dpalace.com, or you can go over to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just
everything has got the same. Hopefully, it's nearly there. It's nearly
unified.
You will see the little the new icon. Have you got a picture of it so you can quickly flash it out?
Well, go on then.
Go on. And you'll just recognise that if it turns up in any of your feeds, you'll know it's all to do with the wiki.
If I can find the thing. I think it might be.
We did spend a while making it.
We did, but I'm just
It
trying to
doesn't,
remember
it
where I
doesn't
put
look
it.
as great when it's tiny, tiny, small, but it is nice. And this is like the the stamp for the game,
Absolutely. Let me have a look.
and it's unified across all social media.
Yeah, well, that was important. You were right about that. Here we are.
Yeah, this is what it looks like, and you'll see it because it's black and red.
Hang on. Press that button.
Well, it's kind of reddy orange.
Yep, so this is the unified social media logo.
Yeah, so if that turns up
Wickie.
anywhere, you know that this stuff is to do with the wiki, and all stuff to do with like Unreal Engine, and game dev, indie game dev, especially if you're a developer on your own, by all means get in touch. Cris gets lonely, don't you? And he's got no.
Where am I?
He needs his teammates, people doing the same thing. Yeah.
I'm lonely.
Yeah, he can give lots of advice, and I'm sure you can ask questions and get in touch.
Solo developers meeting up is a very awkward thing. Yeah, no, they're not supposed to unite. That's why they're solo developers. Solo developers stay solo, but occasionally say hello to somebody.
Yeah, don't sell out. Don't sell out.
Yeah, don't sell out unless they offer you a lot of money.
Yeah, but even
then sell out, but maintain a controlling interest.
You'll cry one day once you've sold out and you've just run out of money and you've given your baby away.
I don't want to sell out for any sum of money that I could possibly spend.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
But there we go. Okay then, my loves, you all take care. We are going to switch to the going away page, which is the page where we go goodbye, and I'm going to sing the going home song. You're going home. Bye. You're going home.